The rain was coming down in sheets, pounding the cracked asphalt like a furious drummer gone wild. Thunder cracked right above him, shaking the ground beneath Noah Carter's boots as he slammed his truck door shut. His shirt was soaked through, and his jeans clung to him, heavy with water. But he couldn't ignore what he was seeing in the distance. A sleek, black sedan was half swallowed by the mud at the edge of the flooded road. The driver's side door was flung open, and a woman in a sharp grey coat was staggering out, her heels sinking deep into the muck. She looked both enraged and utterly helpless. His phone buzzed, reminding him about the job interview that was supposed to start 10 minutes ago, but Noah didn't head for the highway. He went straight toward her. "No, no, no, this can't be happening," the woman muttered, wrestling with her heel that was hopelessly stuck. Her coat was pristine, untouched even by the raging storm, but the water pooling around her ankles was anything but clean. Her dark hair was plastered to her face. Mascara was smudged at the corners of her eyes. She was breathing in short, fast gasps, like the cold was trying to snatch the air right out of her lungs. Noah splashed through the ankle-deep water, heading straight for her. "You're going to twist your ankle doing that," he said, his voice cutting through the storm like a knife. She whirled around, completely startled. Her eyes scanned him, a tall guy in a faded flannel shirt, jeans covered in mud, and a baseball cap pulled low to shield his face from the worst of the rain. "I'm fine," she snapped, trying to yank her shoe free. "No, you're not," he replied flatly, crouching down to grip the heel and yank it free with one swift, sharp tug. He handed it to her without even looking her in the eye. "Get in the car." "I'll handle it." "You don't even know me," she said, holding the shoe like it was evidence in a courtroom. "Lady, I don't need to know you to help you out. You're stuck. I've got a truck." She hesitated, watching as he trudged back to his vehicle. His pickup looked older than she was, with rust eating away at the wheel wells. But the chains in the back told her that this wasn't the first time he'd pulled someone out of the mud. When he backed up toward her sedan, she noticed his hands, calloused, strong, with veins standing out against the pale skin. He hooked the chain to her bumper like he'd done it 1,000,000 times, then climbed into his cab. A roar from the engine, a slow, steady pull, and the sedan groaned free from the mud with a wet, sucking sound. By the time she'd climbed back into her car, soaked and shivering, he was already walking back through the rain without even waiting for a thank you. Something in her chest tightened. "Wait!" she called, rolling down the window. He stopped, but didn't turn around. "You're soaked. Take this," she said, holding out a folded bill. He finally looked at her, his jaw tightening. "Keep it. I'm already late." "For what?" He paused. "A job interview." And then he just walked away, his boots splashing through the water, just disappearing into the downpour. Noah's heart was pounding as he climbed back into his truck. Rainwater was dripping from the brim of his cap onto the worn steering wheel. The clock on the dash glared at him. 9:12 a.m. His interview was scheduled to start at 9 sharp. He twisted the key, and the truck groaned to life, the wipers squealing across the cracked windshield. "Perfect," he muttered, punching the gas. The old pickup rattled over every single pothole as he sped toward downtown. His mind was racing through all the questions he'd been prepping for weeks. But deep down, he already knew it just didn't matter anymore. No one's going to wait for a guy like him. 3 blocks from the office building, traffic just ground to a complete halt, a wreck up ahead. The rain had turned every street into a river, and even if he parked and ran, he was still going to be late. His chest tightened, and not just from the frustration, but from the weight that had been pressing down on him for months now. Rent was overdue, his son's shoes were falling apart, and the bills were stacked so high on the kitchen table that they looked like a second job. By the time he finally reached the high-rise, it was close to 10. The receptionist barely glanced at him before saying, "They've moved on to the next candidate." Her voice was flat, efficient, like she'd already written him off completely. Noah's throat went dry. "Can I at least—" "I'm sorry, sir," she cut him off. "The hiring manager's schedule is completely full." "You can reapply in 6 months." 6 months? He couldn't even survive 6 weeks without steady work. He forced a nod, swallowing the sharp lump that was forming in his throat. "Thank you for your time." Outside, the rain had softened to a drizzle, but it didn't even matter anymore. He felt colder now than he had standing in that flooded road. He shoved his hands deep into his pockets and started the long walk back to his truck. Halfway there, a sleek black SUV rolled up beside him, the tinted windows gleaming despite the grey sky. The passenger window slid down, and he just froze. It was her, the woman from the mud. She wasn't shivering anymore. Now she looked composed, her hair smoothed back, her coat completely immaculate again. "You missed it, didn't you?" she asked, her voice softer this time. "Yeah," he said, shifting uncomfortably on the wet sidewalk. "But you're on your way, so totally worth it." She studied him for a moment, her gaze steady. "Then get in." Noah frowned. "What?" "Get in the car," she repeated. "I owe you more than just dry shoes." Something about the way she said it, calm and decisive, like she was used to giving orders and being obeyed without question, made him open the door and climb in without another word. The driver pulled away from the curb, and for the first time Noah really noticed the subtle details inside the SUV, the stitched leather seats, the faint scent of expensive perfume, and a folder on her lap stamped with a silver company logo that he'd seen somewhere before. She glanced at him, a hint of a smile tugging at her lips. "I'm Claire Dalton," she said. "CEO of Dalton Tech." Noah blinked, the name just hitting him like a thunderclap. Dalton Tech, the very company he'd just been turned away from. Noah stared at her, the quiet hum of the SUV just filling the silence. "You're the CEO?" he asked, disbelief heavy in his voice. Claire tilted her head, studying him like she was reading lines that only she could see. "Last I checked, yes." Her tone was light, but her eyes were sharp. "And unless I'm mistaken, you were heading to an interview at my company this morning." Noah's jaw tightened. "Yeah, I was, and I missed it because I stopped to help you." He gave a small shrug. "You were stuck in the rain. Didn't seem like much of a choice." Her lips quirked. "Most people would have just driven right past or taken my money and left. But you didn't." The driver took a turn, and the SUV started climbing the winding road toward a cluster of glass towers perched high above the city. Noah had only ever seen this district from a distance, usually while delivering packages or picking up scrap metal to make some extra cash. Now he was right in it, so close he could see his own reflection in the mirrored windows. "I read your file," Claire said suddenly. "My file?" His brows furrowed. "Yes," she said, tapping the folder in her lap. "I keep an eye on all candidates for certain positions. You were on my list for a logistics coordinator role. Do you know why?" Noah shook his head slowly. "Your resume is unconventional," she continued. "Marine Corps veteran, 2 commendations for bravery, small business owner for 3 years, volunteer at a community shelter. You're not just qualified, you're resourceful. But HR said you'd never make it past the formal process. Too rough around the edges. His stomach just knotted up. And they were right. I didn't even get in the room. She leaned back, crossing her legs. That's the flaw in the system. The wrong people decide who gets a shot. I prefer to see for myself. Her gaze softened a little. And this morning, I did. Noah looked away, staring at the rain streaking the tinted glass. I wasn't trying to impress you. I know, she said, cutting him off. That's the whole point. The SUV slowed, turning into a private garage beneath one of the tallest towers. As the doors closed behind them, Claire set the folder aside. You've got one chance to prove yourself, Mr. Carter. Not in 6 months, not next week, right now. He raised an eyebrow. What's the catch? No catch, she replied smoothly. Just a problem that no one else has been able to solve. The elevator doors opened, and she stepped out without looking back. You helped me out of the mud, Noah. Let's see if you can do the same for my company. The elevator ride to the top floor was completely silent, except for the faint hum of the motor. Noah stood beside Claire, still dripping rainwater onto the spotless marble floor. His boots squeaked with every slight movement, sounding painfully out of place in the gleaming, high-tech world around him. When the doors slid open, the atmosphere just changed instantly. Chaos. Phones were ringing off the hook. Voices overlapped, and the large digital screen on the wall flashed "System Failure" in bold red letters. Several employees rushed past, carrying stacks of papers, their faces pale and tense. Claire didn't even break stride. "Conference room now," she called out, and 3 senior-looking staff members just scrambled to follow. She gestured for Noah to come with her. Inside, the room was all glass walls and polished chrome, overlooking a skyline blurred by the rain. A long table dominated the center, scattered with laptops, coffee cups, and documents. One man, grey-haired and sweating, just blurted out, "Claire, the distribution tracking system crashed last night. We've got shipments in 6 states unaccounted for. If we don't restore it today, we're looking at millions in penalties." "Millions?" another added grimly. "And lost clients. We've already had 3 call to threaten termination." Claire dropped into her chair, calm but deadly focused. "So fix it." The grey-haired man's voice faltered. "Ma'am, our IT lead says it could take a week, maybe longer." Noah shifted, recognizing the layout of the diagrams on the table, his brows knitting together. This is your logistics dashboard." The room turned toward him, as if they'd forgotten he was even there. Claire's eyes narrowed. "You know it?" "I've seen systems like it," he said slowly, moving closer to the table. "Used one in the Marines for supply drops and in my shop for parts distribution. Your servers aren't down. They're just misaligned. It's like having all the right puzzle pieces, but the wrong picture on the box." A younger employee snorted under his breath. "And you figured this out just by looking at it?" Noah's voice was steady. "I've spent most of my adult life figuring out how to keep things running with half the parts and no time. This isn't magic. It's pattern recognition." Claire leaned back, watching him with an expression that made his stomach flip, part curiosity, part challenge. "Prove it." Noah rolled up his sleeves, stepping to one of the laptops. His fingers moved quickly over the keyboard, pulling up diagnostic logs, just bypassing layers of flashy UI to get right down to the raw data. The room went silent, except for the clicking of the keys. He was totally in his element now, focused, methodical, almost forgetting where he was until the large screen's angry red warning just blinked out and was replaced by a green light. System restored. The grey-haired man just exhaled in disbelief. How? That should have taken days. It took 40 minutes, Noah said, closing the laptop. You were looking for the problem in the wrong place. Claire's lips curved into a small, approving smile. Mr. Carter, I think you just saved us a fortune. The tension in the room evaporated almost instantly, replaced by a hum of astonished murmurs. One executive shook Noah's hand like he'd just pulled them out of a burning building. Another muttered, "We need him on payroll yesterday." Claire didn't say anything at first. She simply stood, collected the folder from the table, and gestured for Noah to follow her out of the conference room. They stepped into her private office. Floor-to-ceiling glass, a polished oak desk, and a view of the city that made him feel like he was standing in another world entirely. She closed the door behind them. Noah broke the silence first. "Look, I didn't mean to step on your team's toes. I just hate seeing something broken when I know how to fix it." Claire set the folder down with deliberate care. "And that's exactly why I want you here." He frowned. "Here, as in full-time head of logistics operations, the position pays 6 figures, includes full benefits, and has room to grow." She said it like she was reciting a grocery list, calm and certain, as though the decision had been made the moment she saw him out in the rain. Noah just stared at her. "You don't even know if I'm—" "I know enough," she interrupted. "You put a stranger ahead of yourself this morning. You walked into a problem everyone else said would take a week and solved it in less than an hour. And you didn't take my money when you could have." His throat tightened. 6 figures is more than I've ever made in my life." "Then start imagining it," she said, almost smiling. Noah's mind just jumped straight to his son. New shoes, a real bed, no more counting pennies for groceries. The thought alone was enough to blur his vision for a moment. He blinked hard, forcing himself to keep his composure. Claire leaned forward, her voice lower now. "You missed your interview, Mr. Carter, but you made a bigger impression than you ever could have in that room. So the question is, do you want the job?" He let out a slow breath. Yeah, I do." "Good," she said, standing and extending her hand. "Then welcome to Dalton Tech." As he shook her hand, a strange warmth just spread right through him. Not just relief, but the quiet, unshakable feeling that life had just pivoted in a way he couldn't undo. When he left her office an hour later, contract in hand, the rain had finally stopped. The city streets shimmered under a weak silver sun. And for the first time in years, Noah didn't feel like he was stuck in the mud anymore,